Holy Spirit is saying to us in each prayer meeting. And, you know, looking back over the year, how can you go from January to now with all the prayer meetings and remember what we prayed for and how the Lord's answered? You only remember a few things. We had that week of prayer in October, and that was quite something. It really was. And, you know, we saw answers to that almost immediately, and, you know, we're going to do that again. And, you know, it's so wonderful the way the Lord has led. And we have been asking God to use our prayer meeting for a time of deliverance, you know, because who knows, we're here, you know, we're sort of tucked away in London, but yet with all, there's so much happens when we do come together in prayer, and so we're thankful for that. All right, so Deborah, you're going to come and read out some testimonies? And we have the slideshow, of course, but also we've got another testimony on video, and I think you will be blessed by that testimony. I was blessed by just hearing it, and I've known the person for a long time, so it's nice. That's good. Okay. Hold it.
You can just take my phone. Okay, so some of you have written loads, some of you have not written loads, but I will endeavour to read all of them. Don't be ashamed of whatever you've written. Whether you've written loads or not written loads, it is your story. This is how you're telling it. You may have had questions, but you share what you've shared. So don't be embarrassed if you see a piece of paper that's got loads of writing. You're like, oh, it's only wrote 3 words. Don't. Okay? This is your story. Okay. This person had 5 siblings, 2 brothers and 3 sisters, and they grew up in Ghana. No one in their family acknowledged God. They became a Christian when they were 36 years old, and their auntie had brought them to Christ when they were in Ghana after their husband died. They are thankful that God has saved their soul. What is a key memory they have? Life has changed. They don't go to the same places that they used to go to. A few months ago, they had a pain in their knee, and God touched them when they were praying. Things they want to see in the new year is they want to grow in their Christian life. If this is your testimony, can you stand up, please? Okay, this person had 8 siblings, very family, and they grew up in Jamaica. Their family was a Christian household, but they became a Christian themselves when they were 55. They were brought, we'll find out. So do you remember things specifically about that brought you to Christ? I was taught from a child that God loves me by their parents. Where were you when you became a Christian? In England, at Clapham Common. And who led you to Christ? It was Brother Chambers. What is something you're thankful for? They have learned to be calm. What is a key memory they have from being a new Christian? They gained patience and became very tolerant. Describe a time that God has provided, healed, or delivered you. God has taken me through many difficult times. He's healed my back and He's restored my sight. What is something that you want to see in the coming year? God's people enjoying peace. Yeah. Who do we think this is? Elma. You want to stand up, please? Right, this person, they have 6 siblings. They were brought up in Barbados and the UK. In the Christian household, they had a Christian household in Barbados, but one that at least acknowledged God in the UK. They became a Christian in their early 20s. Do you remember things that specifically brought you to Christ? The film The Exorcist, where it mentioned Revelation and the mark of the beast, and they went to a tent meeting. Okay. Where were you when you became a Christian? They're not sure. Who led you to Christ? Myself said the prayer on the back. I said the prayer on the back of a trick track many times. What is something that you are thankful for that God has done in your life since becoming a Christian? He's put me around good, solid Christians. What is a key memory from your life when you were a new Christian? Not sure of one from when I was a new Christian, but now unto him that is able to do exceedingly abundantly all that we ask of him. Sorry, my handwriting, guys, but don't worry, lovely handwriting. Describe a time, actually it's nice. Describe a time when God has shown you provision, healing, or delivered you from something. He helped me get my home. And he went to look at a property and didn't have any money. Wow, that is quite a testimony. A whole house when you had no money. Okay, what do you want to see in the coming year? Personal and general church revival and on fire for the Lord. Who do we think? Any person who this is, please stand up. Please stand up, please. Okay, who's this? I have 4 brothers and sisters. I grew up at 70. My household was a Christian household. I became a Christian when I was a teenager. I was at home, and I think I was led by my dad. What is something you're thankful for? It's my family. And I have key memories when I was born again and I was baptized. Who do we think this was? Who is this? It's Amy! Right, this person. They have 1 brother, 1 sister, and they grew up in Essex. They were brought up in a Christian household, and they think they were around 6. Do you remember something specifically? A Spud story about salvation? Is that right? Okay, I think. Okay, they were in Canterbury. Spud? I don't think that can't be right. Oh, it is right. Oh, okay, it's a story from the Auntie Spud story about salvation. Okay, cool. Who led you to Christ? It was Anne. Okay, what is something that you are thankful for? That I have both my parents. Okay, describe a time when God has provided for you. One of my exam results stopped me from doing the college course I wanted, but through that it opened up new doors and opportunities for the future. And what would they like to see in the coming year is personal growth. Yes. If this is your testimony, can you stand up, please? Are you hiding? They're hiding. No, they're there. There you are. This is Rebecca's testimony. Okay, this person has 4 sisters, and they grew up in Hackney and in a Christian household. They were around 8, but that is a complete guess. Must be young. Okay, do you remember something specifically? Yes, the fact that Miss Anne said to me, am I saved and do I know that I'm going to heaven? They became Christian at church, and it was Miss Anne at church. They're thankful that God has kept me happy and cheerful throughout my life. I'm thankful that God has kept me sane and in excellent health. A key memory is having a Christian life when I was baptized, and the feeling was indescribable. They can't. Not applicable was question number 10. But that my future in the coming year, that my future career will flourish. Who is this testimony? We need to stand up. Mr. Kofi. Okay. Nice one, Kofi. Right, this person has 4 sisters and 2 brothers. They grew up at the age of 7 at New Cross in southeast London, and then they moved to Southern Ireland. Wonder who this could be. They were brought up in a Christian household, the one that was acknowledged God but was not a Christian one. And then when they became a Christian, they were 27. Okay, sorry. They heard the gospel from a friend at school that had become Christians. And then in my 20s, someone invited me to church. I wanted to go but said no. I eventually met some Christians and went to a house group but wasn't saved. In July 1993, I had a deep conviction that I was a sinner and begged God for his mercy. Where were you when you became a Christian? I got an invitation from Sister Cudjoe in the bookshop to go to a tent crusade. I looked up the office's address and went to it and got invited to Paragon prayer meeting, so Paragon in the vestry. Who led you to Christ? Sister Anne. What is something you're thankful for? I'm thankful that the last 16 months or so that God has given me the courage to work with teenagers at school, something I tried to avoid for years. Key memory, the realization that that the world, and material things were temporal, and that they would one day be gone, and that eternity was very real. Describe time that God has provided, healed, or delivered you. When I got married, I didn't have much money and was not going to ask for anyone for help. I prayed, and the church provided everything for us, it made it so much more special. God has delivered me from many fears and is still doing it. One of the things is actuality is that a fear of not being accepted by him, or condemnation, maybe because of religious background or because a strong conviction before I was saved. But praise be to the glory of his grace, I am accepted in the beloved. What is something you want to see in the coming year? To be able to share Jesus with others. If this is your testimony, can you stand up, please? Miss Sharon. Okay. This person has one brother. They grew up in Chadwell Heath in Essex. They were sent to Sunday school by their mum, and they became a Christian in 1976. No? 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 All right. Sorry. They went to Sunday school. There was a Christian household. Okay. Right. How old were you when you became a Christian? I made a decision in my teens, but then I went my own way. Do you remember things that specifically brought you to Christ? When I was 22, I realised that I needed God. I knew the ministry through Andrew, and I always felt at peace at 70, the office, when I went there, and prayed the sinner's prayer and found a purpose of my life. Where were you? In the back room of the office at 76th Avenue. Who led you to Christ? Miss Anne and Sister Dawn. What is something you're thankful for? I'm thankful for God has changed me for being a horrible, quick-tempered, selfish, and not knowing myself. That He started to change me from the better and hasn't stopped. Amen. What's a key memory? I always remember the peace that came into my life when I prayed that prayer. I had no peace, contentment, or purpose. I was at my wit's end, and suddenly a peace and purpose that I was no longer on my own. Jesus was with me and would always guide me and lead me, and that his love for me was perfect. My outward problems and situations did not change, but the way I saw them did. I was different because Jesus had changed me. There have been many things over the years. The healing of my back was a miracle, and I was taking 13 tablets through the day and night. And we prayed and believed in God, and his mercy healed me. I completely came off all medication and was able to resume work. What's something I'd like to see in the coming year? For me and my family to know for sure the will of God for our lives, to pursue it with passion. This is your testimony. Can we stand? Okay. How many siblings? They have 7. They have 7, including spiritual siblings, and they grew up. They grew up in Hackney. They were brought up in a Christian household, and they became a Christian when they were 23. They were feeling fed up, and they did the routine of going to church and singing songs, but not feeling connected, listening to preaching, but they didn't understand anything. Where were you when you became a Christian? At Paragon on January 18th, 2015. Who led you to Christ? Sister Anne? No? Sister? Oh, sorry, my bad. Their sister, and Miss Dawn. Okay, what is something you're thankful for? I'm thankful for my family than ever before. Thankful for my church family, friends, pastor. Thankful for good health. Thankful for what God has done and is doing and will do. A key memory. Bang on fire for God, is that right? Bring on fire for God? Being on fire for God, feeling very happy, content, free. They sang songs that had meanings and finally had understanding, and finally understanding what pastor was preaching about, and feeling focused when he spoke, and then being baptized. That's the end of their one. If this is your testimony, can you stand up, please? Right. This person has one brother. They grew up in London, but they moved around a lot when they were young. They lived in north, east, south, but not west London. They were brought up in a Christian household. When they were young, they used to go to Wednesday Special, but as a young teenager and a youngish child, they didn't go to church, but they did a lot of theological discussions with their dad. They became a Christian when they were 16. do a specific thing. It was a whole year of coming to church, to be honest. It was friendships that showed unselfishness. The actual unselfishness, sorry. Where were you? It was at altar call at Hillsong Church. I had gone to Paragon for lots of times, but occasionally there too. They had an altar call, and I just simply thought, why not? Who led you to Christ? Although it was an altar call, I don't remember the pastor's name. It was actually Abigail and Davina who showed me what Christ actually was. Sorry. Right. What's something that you're thankful for? He provided me a home at Miss Anne's. Obviously it is now. And he provided me Aaron afterwards. And a lovely set of in-laws. But who helped me be settled. Before I got married, I had loads of digestion problems. And it was actually, I had been married for a year, and I realised I actually didn't have them anymore. I was settled. I didn't have up and down. I had just contentment. A key memory was that before I became a Christian, I couldn't sleep. I used to stay awake till 3 o'clock in the morning. And I actually remember being taken by Brother King in the van, soon afterwards, or just before, I can't remember. But I just realised I wasn't scared of death, and that when I got home, I just went straight to sleep. And I go to sleep probably too quickly now. Something that I was delivered of. After my eldest was born, it was quite scary when she was born, and I was so fearful. But there was a deliverance meeting at church, and I prayed, and it was the start. Sometimes God doesn't deliver you straight away from something. It's a process. And when Rubens was born, I didn't want to go on the bed. I sort of refused, but Erin made me pray, and we prayed, and I got on, and he was born. And then each subsequent child, God has brought me through mentally through each birth. Because physically you can go through things, but sometimes mentally it can be a challenge, but God has provided me strength and mental strength to get through that. What would I like to see in the coming year? I would like to see victory in this congregation and bringing more people to Christ, and the church family at Paragon growing. That's me. Okay, this person has 7 siblings. They grew up in London. They were brought up in a Christian household. I'm a pastor's child. Okay, how old were you? How old are they? 11. Well, that's when I chose. Do you remember something specifically? Guess. A preacher at Stratford Church. Vernon Oxford was the preacher. Where were you when you became a Christian? In Stratford Church, Francis Road. Who led you to Christ? Vernon Oxford. What was something you're thankful for? Deliver me from my own ill-doing. Guiding me from enemies who were trying to be my friends, to guiding me from enemies who were pretending to be my friends to friends who are my actual friends. What's the key memory you have? The presence of Jesus walking towards me from behind me. I'm feeling empathy for lost souls during an open-air service while Sharon was testifying. She had the same feeling and a good testimony to back her up. Describe a time that God has provided you. Provision, I'm not sure. I weren't exactly healed, but I was delivered from people who I thought were friends, but in the end, which were leading me away to do drugs, alcohol, and other things, and to rob me of my family and my true friends, who were all concerned for my well-being. I was forcibly guided or pulled away from them, all because I did not realise I had real friends who were better for me and could give me the light. What would you like to see come in the coming year? New people in the church. If this is your testimony, can you stand up? Where are you? He's hiding away. Is Mr. Anda? Okay, this person has 2 brothers. They were brought up all over the place, but from a teenager in London. They grew up in a Christian household. They were about 12 or 13 years old when they first made a commitment. Do you remember what things specifically brought you to Christ? They listened to pastor preach and wanting to get to heaven to be with him. They were in London, and it was Miss Anne who led them to Christ. Miss Anne's coming up quite a lot on these guys. What are you thankful for? The healing in my knee at the tent crusade and my large church family. Key memory, feeling fresh and clean and happiness. Describe what God has provided, healed. Yeah. Now, question number 10. God healed my knees at a tent crusade. What would you like to see in the coming year? Getting to God know more. If this is your testimony, can we have some kind of sign? It's Georgina. This person. I wonder, are you guys like secretly spying the handwriting to work out if it's yours? Okay. This person has one sibling. They have a brother, and they grew up in South East London. They were not brought up in a Christian household, but they were sent to Sunday school and went to a Church of England school. They were 19 when they became a Christian. A lady at work witnessed to me, and combined with my mother's sickness, I called on the Lord, and he answered. Where were you? In the front room in Leighton. Is that right? Okay. Who led you to Christ? Anne and another lady. What's something you're thankful for? My purpose in life. Health, strength, and to do what I love to. Why have to? Oh, sorry. So health and strength to do what I have to do. Okay. Key memory. Too many to choose from after 50 years serving the Lord. I don't know who that could be. Describe a time when God has provided you. He healed me from arthritis and bad circulation. Delivered me from my dark moods. I now know that had I continued in these moods, I would have been greatly oppressed. In the coming year, I want the church to be revived and powerfully demonstrating the glory of God. If this is your testimony, can you stand up, please? Let me all know this one. This person has 3 sisters and 1 brother, and they also grew up in Hackney. They brought up in a Christian household. Both my parents went to church and encouraged us to go too. I started going to church at the age of 6. How old were you when you became a Christian? 14. I was part of a big family, and yet loneliness and anger gripped my life. This needed to be dealt with. I attended a crusade organised by World Vision, and pastor spoke on the woman who touched the hem of Christ's garment. I cried out and repented of my sins, and Jesus saved me. Where were you when you became a Christian? In church. Who led you to Christ? Pastor. And at an altar call, I went forward. There was also a call to dedicate one's life to the work of God. What is something you are thankful for that God has done in your life? I am thankful for the family of God. It goes beyond flesh and blood, and I am glad God has put me in this church family. I have made sense of belonging. Sense of belonging. God has given the church family different skills, abilities, and talent. It is a blessing serving the church family seeing the church family working together. Key memory. God gave me a joy that exceeds happiness that comes from happenings. I remember walking down the street to school, filled of excitement and joy, and wanting to share what God has done in my life. During time, all secondary school, I became a prefect, excelled in my class, and completed the Duke of Edinburgh Award, a social project. And this was God working in my life. Provision. God has provided me with a new job that is within a Christian organisation. I'm thankful that this organisation has prayer meetings, and this is very fortunate, and communal lunches together, and I have not seen this type of workplace before. In the coming year, I want to see my relatives get saved. If this is your testimony, can you stand up, please? Okay. This person has no siblings. They grew up all over in children's homes there's a list here, guys. Malvern, Gloucester, Hunstanton, I know that one, Romford, Balham, and there's one here. It's not in London. Okay. Most of them were a Christian household, but they became a Christian at 28. Do you remember things specifically that brought you to Christ? Very specific answers to prayer. Out of dangerous situations when I was 20, when I was 23, and when I was 26. Being thankful but not knowing who to, a respect of mercies, and gradual and progressive realization that the reality of God and his love for me. Where was you when you became a Christian? In Kentish Town Evangelical Church's Manse. Who led you to Christ? The pastor's wife. Well, what is something you're thankful for? Getting to know the word of God, deliverance from and to Deliverance. Okay. Key memory is while not having any great feeling at having two confirmation. While not having any great feeling, having two confirmation in my heart with an old friend. Describe a time when God has provided for you. Okay. Breakdown. His car broke down in France. Mood. Oh, sorry, he's present. Is that present in 2018? Is that right? Yeah. Okay, deliverance from a boy standing. Okay, so yeah. Right, and the coming year, more perfectly in the centralness of God's perfect will. This is your testimony, although I'm really sorry I haven't read it out properly, but God has delivered you from stuff, and I'm thankful for it. So if this is your testimony, Joe, bless up. Okay, Dad. Okay, we've got a couple more minutes, guys, and we might have to finish them after the countdown, let's see. Okay, this person, they have 8 siblings, 2 sisters and 6 brothers. They grew up in Portland in Jamaica, and in a Christian household, but they themselves became a Christian in their 40s. I visited a tent crusade and tent meetings in Clapham Common, and I heard the word. In addition, my wife told me about the things of God, and I became convicted of my sin. I was at home when I was on my own, and my wife was away. Who led you to Christ? I was on my own. I've had several operations this year, and God has taken me through them. And He's continued health and strength. I think they've run out of time. Guys, I want this finished. If this is your testimony, I want it finished. And can you stand up, please? This needs to be finished. I want to hear the rest. Okay, this person has 3 siblings, and they grew up in Jamaica. They were in a Christian household, and they did go to a Christian school. They became a Christian in their late 30s, and the specific thing that brought them to Christ was the salvation message of Nicodemus. I heard the gospel message in the tent crusade in Hackney Downs. Who led you to Christ? That very night I knelt down at my bedside and asked the Lord into my life. They're thankful for after becoming a Christian, I was able to lead my own daughter to the Lord, and after much prayer, years later, I was also able to lead my brother to the Lord in 2008 when he was diagnosed with cancer. He eventually went through the waters of baptism in this very chapel. A key memory is that I noticed all the bad things in my life began to drop off. Even my friends noticed that the swearing stopped. My desire for parties weaned, and much more. God has provided for me in many ways. In good promotion when I was in employment, He healed me of a growth in my back during a prayer meeting, and much more. In the coming year, they like to see that I continue in the work with Him and His nearness and His trusting in Him. If this is your testimony, can you stand up, please? Stand up. Okay, the last one. If you haven't done one of these, don't worry. I have more on my computer. I can print them off, and we can take one home, and maybe we can get them out for next week. That'd be really great, because you have a testimony, guys. You should share it. We want to know. It's also encouragement for your church family. Some of these ones I've never heard before, people. Okay, right. This person has 2 siblings and 2 sisters and 1 brother, and they grew up in Clapham in London. They grew up in a Christian household, and they parents went to a local church. They became a Christian in their teens. Their friend had become a Christian and had witnessed to them. They became a Christian at home, and I began thinking about things I had heard, and I gave my heart to the Lord. Who led you to Christ, as above? I finally made a commitment in the tent on Clapham Common and immediately got baptised. The same day. Right, wow. They're thankful to God for being my friend, plus my family. A key memory is for me is when I was a new Christian, is the frailty of life and the importance of putting the kingdom of God first in my life. I'm happy to give verbal testimony of this. I love how it's like...
Okay, because I think what I wanted to say is that when I became a Christian, I was very young, just in my teens, and God has provided for me throughout my career and my life in just a tremendous way. And at a time when I didn't think I could do things, God has given me the boldness to be able to do them. And I'm very thankful to God for that.
I haven't guessed this testimony is overalls. And in the coming years, she would like to see a deeper knowledge and a relationship with God. I'm going to hand over to Erin. Oh, what? 11:59. Guys, that clock's slow. Can we do a countdown, though, guys? I think it's 9, 8, 7, 6, 5,